Welcome to the Women Leaders Association Daily Member Podcast, where we believe we go further, faster, and have more fun when we go together. I'm your host, Julianne Kirkland. And in each Daily Member Podcast, we will pick out a great speaker from one of our meetings that we thought you would enjoy. You can access hundreds of recent speakers, book summaries, great articles, and more at no additional charge through your membership portal. If you would like to get involved in a Women Leaders Association mastermind group or find a networking group near you, or if you just need access to the membership portal, simply go to womenleaderspodcast.com to be connected. Now let's tune in for this incredible message.
My name is Sasha Cagen. I'm an executive coach for women. I'm a native Rhode Islander. I was born here and I grew up here, but I left for 30 years and I just came back during the pandemic. I have a keen interest in mind-body connection. And so the topic that I'm going to delve into today is, why is it important to get out of our heads and into our bodies? And I want to say that I loved Bonnie's presentation about women supporting women, that this is totally the way that I aspire to live my life. It's really my guiding philosophy. And I think it's because I've been an entrepreneur and a writer my whole life. I know how hard it is to get things going. So I love to give support to others who are out there on that path. So thank you for promoting that message, Bonnie. So let's see. I think that we were at my bio or at the start of the presentation, but that's a beautiful picture of Bonnie.
And also, everyone, because you can't click through on the slides, I'm going to post Sasha's links into the chat.
Oh, okay. So are you going to bring the presentation back or, okay, there it is. Awesome. Beautiful. So yes, my name is Sasha Cagen. I'm a writer. I wrote a couple of books. The first one is called Quirky Alone, and the second one is called To-Do List. I'm sure there are some list makers here. And the third one I'm working on now is a memoir. And that one will be called Wet. I'll let that sink in. And in my life, professionally, I'm an executive coach for women and a recovering overthinker. And that is what really brought me to the work of getting into your head, out of your head and into your body, is that I myself have always been the kind of person who thinks a lot. And, that has a lot of benefits. It's good to think, for sure. It's good to reflect and to write and to, consider things. But if we spend so much time in our heads and don't get connected to the rest of our bodies, this can have bad effects for us. So I think we can go to the next slide. So so a little bit about me. I was born in Rhode Island. I was always super ambitious. Growing up here, I was very into being number one. I graduated at the top of my class. I was, very intent on getting into the best college that I could. And I was really productive and successful in my 20s and 30s. I published books by the time I was 30. I started and sold a company in Silicon Valley by the time I was 33. But by the time I was 35, I was really quite unhappy. And I was a pretty good example of someone who looks very successful on the outside, but inside feels burned out, cynical, and really unsure about what made me happy. Like I remember being kind of depressed and down in those times, and a friend of mine saying, well, do something that makes you happy. I was like, I don't know what makes me happy. Like I had lost touch with my joy and myself. And something kind of grabbed hold of me. I finally had some money to take a vacation because I had made this choice about working in Silicon Valley, and I decided to go to Brazil. And I don't know if anyone here has been to South America, to Brazil or Argentina or Colombia or anywhere else, but you can really immediately notice when you arrive there that people have a different relationship with their bodies. They walk differently. There's more people are dancing. It's more common to grow up and learn how to dance from your family. And so being in that place really awakened this desire in me to be more like them, to be more in touch with my body and more in touch with my happiness. Okay, so we can go to the next slide. So through all of those experiences that I had in South America, I wound up getting very into tango and then moving and living in Buenos Aires for 5 years, I really got invested in the idea of, oh, cool, we have a Brazilian here. Awesome. I see that in the chat. So yeah, Brazil really turned me on to the idea of valuing my connection with my body, because I was so inspired actually by Brazilian women and the way they walk and dance. So this became my path. I left behind Silicon Valley. I lived in Argentina. I learned and taught tango eventually. And I also learned so much about body-mind methodologies that exist through dance and through many other techniques. And when I changed my career and went from Silicon Valley to coaching and eventually becoming a life coach and an executive coach, my secret sauce, as Bonnie said, is this connection with the body. And I find that so many women who are like me, very high achieving, very ambitious, very heady, we really want to get reconnected with our bodies, because there's a feeling, and I don't know if it's so articulated for everyone, but there's a feeling that we're missing out on something and that we want to be in our bodies. So I'm going to share with you today some tools that I think work based on my own experience and working with my clients. I'm going to share some stories. I'm going to change their names because, you know, it's a special relationship working with a client, but I want to share some stories of how this can really work for you or other people. And also, like Bonnie's talk, it's going to be interactive, and I'm going to ask you actually to move, because a big theme of this talk is movement and how much we all need to move, especially when we're in these Zoom situations for a long time. So, okay, I think we can go to the next slide. Oh, this is the only image in the presentation, but this is Worf from Star Trek. Does anybody know Worf here? I'll be honest that I'm not actually like the biggest Star Trek fan, but I was in a class that was about body connection and about connecting with our bodies to find what's true for us. And in a discussion with other students and the teacher about overthinking, and someone suggested that Worf is the image of someone who's like really, his brain is pulsing with thinking. So somehow for me, it's like a funny joke now. If I'm like thinking too much, I imagine Worf and I want to move. So, okay, I think we can go to the next one. So yeah, the theme today is that your body can be a powerful ally. And I just want to presence that I'm really talking about developing a relationship with your body in a way that may be different than anything you've ever considered before. Because I'm not even really talking about body positivity, which would be like feeling neutral or good about your body. Or partially I'm talking about exercise, but mostly what I'm talking about is developing a relationship with what you feel inside of your body and valuing all of the sensations that you have from your neck down and how they can guide you and help you and become your most magnetic, radiant, alive self. And it's a sort of profound thing, because we all live inside these bodies, but we may neglect them or not think about it or just stare at our phones all the time. So developing this relationship with your body is like, it's a very revelatory path. And it's different for each person because we all feel things a little differently. Okay, next slide. So yeah, so the goal today is to share some practical methods with you that can help you cultivate your body intelligence, which is that idea of being aware of your sensations and what you're experiencing and how that awareness can help you. Okay, next slide. To channel your most brilliant, confident self, this is kind of our to-do list for today, or like what some expected possibilities could be if you put these things into play. Next slide. Make wiser, possibly bolder decisions. I can tell you I've made decisions that have absolutely changed my life based on what my body was telling me. And these were decisions that I wasn't able to make with just my head, because my head was going round and round with yes and no, and I needed to connect with my body to snap through it. And third thing we're going to get out of this is getting clear about what you really want, which is a big deal for a lot of us who have sort of absorbed messages from society about what we're supposed to want, or have lost touch with what we really want or what makes us happy. And I think this getting connected with your body can also help you get connected with what actually you really want, not like what you're supposed to want. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this talk will get you moving. So we're going to do our first kind of, well, it might be the only, but we're going to do a movement break right now. So the next slide is going to describe that a little bit. So we can go to that one. So here, I'm going to ask you to do something weird, because basically all of this stuff is a little bit weird. And if we can kind of just get comfortable with doing it and know that others do it, it helps us to incorporate unusual strategies. And this is a little bit like therapy or coaching is usually about talking, but my work is also bringing forward the idea that sometimes there are ways that we can change our energy, or get a new idea or perspective, or make a decision that aren't about talking and that are actually about connecting with your body. So what we're going to do right now for a minute is wiggle. And the theory here is that basically, tension and fear will always be accumulating in our bodies from the stresses that we experience in life. So, or emotion that we're trying to not feel, or anything that feels like an oncoming challenge or attack on you, it puts this tension in our body, and we get smaller with that tension. And you can feel it. So I can tell you, I actually did like a minute of wiggling before giving this talk, because I need to practice what I preach. And I know that I'll be more dynamic and alive if I wiggle. So, all right, I'm going to actually ask all of us to wiggle for a minute. So I don't think we can see each other's. Ginger, can we see other videos? Well, I'm going to wiggle. And so I'm asking you to do it too, whether we can see you or not. All right. So the way that I like to do this, actually, I'm going to see if I can pull it up. It won't be super perfect, but I usually do it to Taylor Swift, Shake It Off, because it's like a wiggling anthem of shaking off tension. So this is a spontaneous idea. It's not all queued up.
Do you ever walk into a room and completely forget why you're there?
Okay, sorry. All right, so there we have some music. Can you guys hear that? Yes, no? All right, well, I'm wiggling. Cool. So if you want to wiggle and shake it off, because I'm sure you have some tension in your body, this is a chance. Okay, so that was our wiggle break. Did anyone get to do it? Can you tell me in the chat? This wiggle, which is so simple, is called a fear melter. You wiggled. Awesome. I'm really happy that some people wiggled. So the wiggle is actually a fear melter, and it's taught by a couple called the Hendricks, who have 40 years of teaching about body intelligence. And, you know, it's pretty much exactly what I explained, that fear is constant. We're always going to be afraid. Like, I was afraid to get on this call and do this. I'm sure if we're living fully, we're going to be afraid of things. That's the nature of it. And so having a tool at your disposal as simple as this, and I think that is really the simple things that we remember and we can do, and you can just do it for a second, I really recommend. And so in my coaching practice, how do people use wiggles? You know, for example, I had a client actually who lives in Rhode Island, who felt really uncomfortable on these Zoom calls because English was her second language, and it was hard for her to feel comfortable improvising. So one of the techniques that I shared with her was this wiggle. So I'll talk about some others later, but simply this idea, you could take a minute and wiggle to any song. You would be surprised at what kind of difference it can make. So, okay, I think we can go forward. We've done our wiggling. Thank you for everybody who wiggled. That's very awesome. So, okay, here's another interactive bit. When was the last time you listened to your body? Put it in the chat. And I'm not going to define anything more about what I mean there. I'm just curious about how you would interpret it. What does it mean to listen to your body? Does anyone have any examples of that you can remember? Yeah, I'm going to leave it at that and see. And if this comes to you later and you want, oh, yesterday I took a ballet class. Okay, and did you hear something from your body? What did you hear from your body when you took the ballet class? Was it the desire to do it or something that came through in the class? Okay, today feeling low energy and decided to rest a bit. Okay, the ballet class, I needed it after a stressful day. Sleep when you're tired, unless you have a toddler. Yes. Yeah, very simple things. Like I actually have a client who had a life-changing experience through listening to her body that she needed a nap. And it was such a radical action for her to take a nap in the middle of the day, because she was one of these highly accomplished consultants who's, you always have to be kind of on the move when you're self-employed. That nap became life-changing for her, because it became this reference point about valuing her rest. And so many of us are craving rest. Our bodies are calling out for it. Okay, so those are some really great answers, just as like we begin to explore what does it mean to listen to our bodies. Okay, so next slide. Yeah, and then this other slide here, how we are in our bodies reflects how we are in life. This sort of goes along with the wiggle and just sort of puts a point on that, for example, me without wiggle, before giving this talk, I probably would be, my imagination is I would be a little stiffer and less relaxed, and yeah, just less me, I would say, less free. So if there's a lot of tension, probably that's going to be reflected in your personality, your writing, even all of your expressions. So I really take it as a precept for myself in my own life that I'm always sort of shaping my body to have the fluidity that I want to have in my life, let's say, and your quality that you're going for might be different, but it really is this sort of connection of like how I feel in my body is how I am in life. Okay, so next one. And yeah, so before we get into everything else, I'm just going to get on my sermon box and really preach that daily movement is a non-negotiable part of your morning routine, if you have a morning routine or in your day, and that it can be as short as 10 minutes. And the reason is that every single thing that we're going to talk about today, its impact will be magnified if you're moving every day just a little bit. It's the benefits of it are so great, and the time can be so short. So for example, I like to do these dance videos every morning. I can put it in the chat later. They're 10 to 20 minutes, but they just get everything moving in the morning. And yeah, how I am in my body is how I am in life. I tend to wake up feeling anxious, sluggish, not really great. Having that burst of aliveness really changes so much beyond my physical condition. It's like changes everything about how I feel about myself and the day. Okay, next slide. Tension is inevitable, so we need to release it ongoing. Pretty much what we've been saying. Okay, next slide. Okay, so here is a wonderful tool that I have been really enjoying sharing with my clients, and I think will be really interesting to share with you. And I can even teach this to you. Okay, I'm looking at the time. Yeah, I'm going to teach it to you really quickly because there's a bunch of stuff I want to share with you today. So if you feel like being interactive, you can actually get up and start walking around in your space. And as you do that, you can walk back and forth in your space. I'm going to talk you through a concept called the essence pace. So the essence pace is basically an exploration of what is the pace of moving that feels the best to you. And I like to explain this by saying, like, let's imagine there's 1 to 10, and maybe you just start moving in your space now at the pace that you would be habitually at, and ask yourself, where am I on 1 to 10? Am I at a 5? I'm at 8. Where is it? How fast is it? And then ask yourself, does this actually feel good to me? And then start slowing down or speeding up to find the pace of walking that actually feels the best to you in your body, in your hips, in your joints, like your whole being. So the point here is to find the pace that you want to walk at through the world. And the implications of it will be much bigger than that. Because, for example, I'll give you a story of a client who lives around New York City and works in Manhattan in Times Square. So my God, like there's no other pace where people are darting around faster than Times Square. So basically what she discovered is that her essence pace is like 3 numbers slower than her habitual pace. And that to slow down would actually be countercultural because she's around all these fast moving people and it's the culture of how people are. but that everything changed when she slowed down, and that she found this assumption that had been driving her in her everyday life of urgency, which I think probably a lot of people can relate to, this feeling that everything is an emergency and it's anxiety causing, and it's not really a comfortable way to live at that level of urgency. And so just the exploration of the essence piece is a very physical way of exploring, like, what does it feel like to move at a pace that feels good to me? And then from there, what does that say about how I'm living, like the pace that I'm thinking or just feeling? So, okay. So yeah, I think it can be a really rich exploration. Every client I've shared with has found a lot of reverberation through their life about how they are in their heads and with others. Okay, so like, is everything an emergency, or what is the pace that I respond to people? And for example, with that client, probably a lot of people can relate to what she deals with too, which is a million oncoming messages that are all urgent during the day. And so by discovering her essence pace, she can decide, like, do I want to respond with the same urgency that all these people are throwing at me? Or what choices can I make to go at a pace that feels good to me? Okay, next slide. Okay, so yeah, these are the instructions we just went through: observing your normal walk, then asking yourself, how does it feel? Does it feel good? And from 1 to 10, what speed feels best? So did anybody actually do this exploration and come up with numbers? And if you did, you could say, like, the number I discovered my habitual walk was, and what number feels good to you. Okay, we can go to the next slide and see if anyone has any numbers to share with us. Okay, so this next tool and idea is a really fun one. And this one is about learning a new paradigm for decision making, the language of your body. Serena says that she's an 8 and 10, 1 in Times Square. Okay, cool. So this new paradigm really is a way of getting out of your head and into your body when you're making a big decision. And here I'm going to share the story of another woman that I worked with, and our work together, and how we came to this big decision that she made. So this was someone who was going through a lot of change in her 40s, divorce of a long marriage, and she was considering a job opportunity that would have her move across the country to California. And we had developed this way of working together, which is basically, what is it that you feel in your body when we talk about X, Y, or Z thing? So we had been working together some months then. So this is something that I don't know, like, how common this would be for you and the people here. Often it's a skill that needs to be developed to sort of move beyond or below your neck, to have awareness of what it is that you feel in your body. The technical term for this is interoception. And I'm going to give you a reference a story, you can read more about it, and there are books. Basically, interoception is a really hot field in neuroscience and psychology. Science is actually catching up with body-mind stuff here, as it often does. And interoception is basically your ability to read the signals of your body. So how fast is your heart beating? Can you sense that? Do you feel a twist in your stomach? Anything that you could, or as simple as, I have to go to the bathroom. Like, this could be a sensation actually that I have worked with people who have been so in their heads that they ignore that sensation of having to go to the bathroom. So it's everything. But in this case, with this woman who was approaching a possible big change in her life, of changing coasts, I asked her, what do you feel in your body when you considered their job offer? And because we had been talking like this for a while, the answer was super clear for her, that she felt a warmth in her gut, and just this clear, calm, warm sensation that, for her, and everyone's language of their body is unique, but for her, she could feel that this gave her the courage to take a big risk. And I think it's a little bit similar to what women who become mothers talk about when they say that there was like a physical longing in their body to have children. And I can say I don't have children. I actually thought about that quite a lot, that I very rarely have this physical urge in my body to have children. But my point is that it's not only about the question of becoming a mother or not, that we can pay attention to the longings and sensations of our bodies to give us information about everything, about job opportunities, about dating people or not, about, everything, what you want to eat for dinner. So some people call this tuning into your whole body yes, or your whole body no, or your maybe. And it's a process. I think it's not always clear. And I want to say something too that I just like to share with people is like, sometimes the body can send confusing messages. Like you could have a panic attack, for example, that has all kinds of physical sensations. And it doesn't mean the thing you're worried about is really that scary. So I guess I'm just saying that all of this is a process. You get to know your body and you get to know how to move in relation to what you're hearing. And, just about this quickly, I can say I made the decision to move to Buenos Aires by asking my pussy what to do, which is a whole part of my work that we're going to get to now. But that's a particular part of the body that was built for delight and for pleasure. And so I really talk to the women that I work with and say, like, if you're having trouble making a decision, what does your pussy want? And I apologize if that language is bad for people. I'm reclaiming it in an empowering way. So that's my intention. So, okay, I think we can go to the next slide, and I might even, so how does it feel in your body? Is it a yes or no? This is a question to ask yourself when thinking about a decision. Next slide. So this is the piece that if anyone's really interested in it, I recommend Googling guardian and interoception and maybe the keyword well-being, because it will explain to you this science and how, often when you just feel like something is right or wrong, but you don't really know why, it's because you're reading your body. There's some physical cue. So your sensation is very connected to your intuition. If you want to build your intuition, get in touch with your body. So now we get to the really fun part. This is a piece that I originally just started teaching in person when I led workshops. And now I'm sharing online, and it's taken quite a bit of courage for me to do that because it involves, using words like pussy, and hopefully that's okay in this context, which is sort of a business context, but it's meant to be an empowering way of connecting with our female sexual energy that is inside our bodies and lays dormant or isn't utilized as much as it could be if we're not aware of what's possible. So, I think we can go to the next slide and I'll explain a little more of what I mean about that. So one of the tactics that I love to share with clients is something that I call pussy walking. And again, it's bold language, but it's funny, and it's meant to wake us up to the power that we have inside of our female bodies. So I'm not sure if everyone here is aware that the clitoris, this is turning into a sexual education talk, but it's not just a little button. It's actually an internal organ, and it has the most nerve endings designed for pleasure of any organ, male or female. And so this teaching that I love to share, that I developed through my own study of mind-body empowerment for women and tango and everything I've been through in the last 10 years, is basically this very simple practice about putting your awareness down into your pelvic region as you walk and letting that inform how you walk through the world, your energy, your sensations. And every time I teach this for that person who goes from their quote unquote normal walk to their power walk or their pussy walk or whatever we're going to call it, there is a visible change, and either she will see it, she'll feel it herself, and those of us who are watching in the workshop, we see it too. So, this is a big topic. We're not going to go that deep into it now. If you're curious about it, you can go to my website and you can watch videos that teach you how to do this. But basically the effect is confidence. And because this is a part of our body that's been shrouded in shame for centuries, and we've been taught to disconnect from and not to sort of connect with for our own power and our own energy. And so it's an awakening practice. It's one of these many ways that connecting with your body can light you up. And ultimately, I'm talking about your whole body, because this is a renewable energy source that can be felt throughout your body. And one of the most wonderful effects is this little secret smile. I'm collecting stories from my clients who use this. And one of my clients just shared this story with me about how she loves practicing her pussy walk because she feels like she always has this naughty little smile, like she's doing something secret that no one knows. And it's just like wearing fun lingerie under her corporate outfit. So, it's that feeling of a superpower, and like people react to her all the time and say, like, you're looking great and whatever you're doing is working. And she's getting tons of compliments. She's in her 50s. And, a lot of women who are in their 50s deal with the fear of feeling invisible or like it's all over. And so this is something that's available to everyone, every age. And it's kind of an adventure once you start trying it. So, and again, it's about your confidence, your trust in yourself. And I would say it's connected to the things we talked about earlier, like loosening up, letting go of tension, so that the end goal is that for me, the end goal is like, I can be in a situation like this and not even know exactly what I'm going to say and still feel confident. And just because I have that inner kind of dynamism and trust in myself. No anti-aging potions, but it works. This is like to the stories that I hear from older women who are like glowing and people are giving them lots of compliments. So I'm almost 50, like, my God, I've been practicing pussy walking for 10 years. So I think it works. So how would my life change is if I listen to my body? That's the question that I want to leave you with. This is sort of the question of the memoir that I'm writing. Because the book that I'm writing is the story of what changed in my life when I listened to my body. And it's a very provocative question because we don't always ask that. So let's see what else is there. I think we're almost at time.
Hey, my friend, if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, be sure to rate, review, and share your biggest takeaway. And if you're wanting more, you can access hundreds of recent speakers, book summaries, great articles, and more at no additional charge through your membership portal. You can also get involved in a Women Leaders Association mastermind group or a networking group near you. Or if you just need to access your membership portal, simply go to womenleaderspodcast.com to be connected. Because here at Women Leaders Association, we believe we go further, faster, and have more fun when we go together. That's all for today, my friends. Bye for now.